thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully you find this session interesting and useful, and you are coping with the heat as previously discussed. Really exciting session today from the group that have worked on the ETP tirelessly for quite a long time, and will be representing the remainder of the working group. If you can remain on mute during the call, just so there's no disturbance with the speakers. And also, if you have any questions that you would like to discuss, or any points that you want to discuss when there's time for Q&A, you can pop them in the chat and I'll make sure that we get around to them. Alternatively, you are, as long as the speakers are okay, welcome to kind of raise a hand, and when there's a bit of a gap, we can have a discussion off mute. So I'll hand over to Sarah and Ian, who will introduce today's session, and enjoy.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good interactive session, and thanks again, huge thanks to all the speakers who've agreed to come and speak in this nice sunny day. So yeah, we are looking at the education technical professional work that we've been doing at the NTDC, and we just wanted to celebrate with examples of people and kind of how they progress, some tips from them. So as we go along, please do feel free to put any questions in the chat, or we'll kind of look at the format of the session. So we'll kind of spend just the first few minutes just kind of introducing the work that we've done at the NTDC on the pathway and the report, and highlighting kind of ways you can get involved. And then we'll move over to the speakers. So the order of the speakers, we've got Bill from Edinburgh Napier, Anya May from Derby, we've got Michael from Liverpool, and we've got Gemma from Manchester Met. So yeah, so they're going to kind of do a kind of short introduction about them, what they do for their role, and kind of answer a couple of key questions around kind of tips from them, or kind of how they see things progressing in terms of education pathway. We will then move on to, once all the speakers have spoken, kind of take any questions for people on that. Kind of that you've got. So maybe if we hold questions kind of towards the end of when all the speakers have finished, then we can get those questions to everyone. And then we'll kind of like try and do like a breakout, with what's going to work in terms of kind of getting questions from everyone here today, thinking about kind of barriers, opportunities of having an ETP pathway, anything we can help support with, and any other questions as well. So that's the plan. Hopefully it will all go smoothly as we hand over from one speaker to another. And then just initially, just a little bit of background for people who may or may not know about what the NTDC do. So I'm Sarah Bacon, the Centre Manager at the NTDC. I'm going to be handing over to Ian Marsh, who's done a significant amount of work with the working group and the centre around the HEC Career Pathways framework. So this session in particular, we're looking at the education pathway. So there's been a lot of work, a lot of contributions from our members on that. And in particular, out of all of this work, we've got kind of specialist advisors who have been helping particularly on the pathway. So just to kind of highlight them if they're on the call. So Kerry from Derby, Jenny from Leeds, and Jackie from Queen Mary's. So yeah, I'm really pleased to have them on board as well to support us with this work. So yeah, like it says on the infographic, the kind of support, the reason we exist is to support the technician development, either through the institution or through the individual. So the career pathways is a big part of this for us, working with institutions. Another area is the technician survey. So your institutions may or may not have run this, and it is kind of a way to gather all the data from for the institution and for individuals on all the roles and responsibilities that their technical staff have. So it's quite key at the moment for people to kind of have that information and to use it in terms of training and development trends, and kind of looking at organisation of their technical community as well. And then career coaching is another big area that we're looking at with working with a lot of people on there. We have a lot of experience working with technicians on coaching with the company that we work with, Next Steps. So if that's something people think that might help in terms of career progression and looking at how they can progress and move on their pathways, and do get in touch with us. So this as well is kind of one of many events we're hosting. There's lots of others coming up in the summer. So kind of look out for any information on those. So TechMeet style, and then in-person events. We've got some in Salford and one up in Scotland in September as well. And heated as well. So heated is our technician training arm, and that's really been key for a lot of people in, you know, being able to access, develop those skills, progress their careers. So there's a whole host of online and in-person courses available, and lots of you on the call you will have kind of seen or heard about them from yourselves or colleagues. So yeah, so blatant kind of push of what we do, but yeah, that's us, and get in touch if you want to know any more. So yeah, in terms of the pathway, I'll hand over to Ian, because he's been kind of instrumental in getting us to where we are with this now. So Ian.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the education technical professional pathway that we've been working on. So we are the Office for Students national body for the HE sector, partially because of that, but partially because of the great work that we knew technicians were doing in education across the sector already. We wanted to fully explore the work of technicians in education in HE. And we were conscious that sector body recommendations, and you can see these on the slide, had for a long time just generally focused on career pathways. UKRI then started to focus on the work of research technicians, and in particular research technical professionals. And we wanted to bring a balance to this, so to add some recommendations in around what technicians in education were doing. And you'll see at the top that our recommendations talk about the higher education technical taxonomy, so the framework that we have at the centre, which focuses on education, research, management and leadership. But we also include a note now about the education technical professional pathway. So in order to have a deeper delve into what technicians were doing in education, we established a cross-sector group of about 20 universities, and we reached out to people that we thought were doing great work and were like leading in the sector. And we reached out to technical colleagues, HR and organisational development colleagues and academic colleagues. And we also partnered up with the Institute of Science and Technology, so the professional body for technicians. And together we fully explored the roles of technicians in education. We started off by looking at how universities were funded, and we found that over half of all university funding supported educational activities. We then looked at the survey that we run at the centre, and we've run the survey now with 30 organisations, and over 5,000 technicians have filled out the survey, so I've inputted to the body of data that we hold. And we found that out of those respondents, 46% of technicians reported that their role was primarily education focused, and 67% reported that in some way their role contributed to student success. As we carried on with our research, we found that the roles of technicians in education had quite significantly grown over the years. So we found that there were examples of technicians teaching students academic reasoning, so which techniques they should use to get a particular outcome. We found there were examples of technicians leading tour practical sessions, examples of technicians assessing work. There are examples of technicians using learning objectives to design new and innovative practical sessions. We found that there were technicians who were analysing student outcome data and then refreshing or reworking practical sessions so that students would have better outcomes in subsequent delivery periods. And we found that there were technicians who were contributing and sometimes leading the design and delivery of learning spaces and digital infrastructure. And together, the group, over a number of months, we developed a family of roles focusing on the technical and technology skills of technicians in education. And this group of technical staff we've called Education Technical Professionals. And on the screen here along the top, you can see that series of roles. And what we've developed is a progressive promotion pathway which highlights the critical roles that education technical professionals play in enhancing key university education metrics, and these would include student outcomes, student satisfaction, and employability. And the pathway we've developed enables ETPs to career plan and to progress. And it also focuses on the teamworking and collaboration that we think is critical. And this is about how ETPs and academic colleagues work together, play into their own strengths, so that the best education provision is delivered, maximising student outcomes, experience and employability. And I'll pass back over to you, Sarah, to introduce the first speaker.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I'm pleased to be able to introduce Bill Surridge. So he's from Edinburgh Napier University, and I'm really interested to hear from you, Bill.
Hi there. Thank you very much for inviting me along today. Certainly, the work of the NTDC and the Educational Technical Professional Pathway has been quite invigorating to be involved with. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. A bit of background about myself. So I am a lab technician in the biomedical science section at Edinburgh Napier University. This is baby Bill, as he started over 11 years ago in this role now. Yes, so I support the delivery of our practical teaching provision in biomedical science, and we've extended over into physical chemistry in the time since. I work with the senior and the senior technician and the other technicians in the section to test out, set up, take down and clean up experiments in our suite of labs. And certainly as time goes on, and I'll cover this through the questions that we were provided, as time moves on, I found myself more interested in helping others develop their practice, be them students or colleagues. As time has moved on. So talking about time, as I mentioned, I've been in my role now for 11 years. And I've been able to see in real time the development of the role of lab technicians. Certainly, and I've got that quote that we've all had some permutation of. We're not just a demonstrator any longer. In my time, I've been able to see the influence from the Midlands group of universities has spread out across the UK, and certainly Edinburgh Napier is invited and happy to contribute towards discussions. I think it's very important for technicians to have a seat at the table with regards to academic planning and delivery. I think our voices are very much required in that setting. And throughout my 11 years, I've got this little kind of journey of what I have contributed towards academically in my time. So written SOPs, I've acted as a demonstrator. This has led to outreach activities, and one thing I'm particularly proud of during COVID, when we couldn't run practical classes in the same way, I developed a lot of videos of practical classes and experiments that couldn't take place. Out of this has came an opportunity to take part in blended and online education masters that I'm currently a part of, and also feeding into redevelopment of practical classes at the learning outcome level and forward. And also just in the past couple of months been invited to give my opinions towards technical support in discussions relating to the upcoming ref. And certainly, I've got a note here that if I'm being honest, this has kind of came about through a combination of the increased visibility and recognition for technical roles, but also, if I'm being honest, necessity. COVID required an all hands on deck effort to make it through. And I would say that technicians stepped up to show that they were more than just demonstrators, but also had the potential to show that they were indeed educators in their own right if given the opportunity. And I think that's really important, is if you do get the opportunity, kind of grab it with both hands if you can. Certainly, how do you accredit your academic skills? Well, one way is through advanced HE accreditation, something that I've mentioned for those who know in my blog that I keep running on my WordPress site. How has it supported recognition in my development? Well, I was the first technician in applied science to achieve Associate Fellow accreditation back in 2015. I'll be honest with you, I thought it would keep me busy for the summer. I never really put much more thought into it than that. The impact that it's had, though, has been incredible on myself. It made me more mindful, not only about my practice, but where I, as a technician, can fit in and feed in to the student experience academically. So, you know, one of the things I point out in talks that I've given since about academic accreditation is sometimes the language can be a little bit confusing for technicians. I can't pronounce pedagogy. I can. You know, one of the things I've got a note here. We develop multiple different resources to develop equipment and practice. That's something that as standard technicians do. What we don't necessarily realize is that this is actually taking attributes of universal design for learning from using that social science academic language. And if you're not familiar with that, then that can take a little while to kind of get used to. And certainly, you know, who knows, we have, and I know there's at least one technician on the call today. We have technicians in our team now who have went forward and achieved fellow accreditation with Advanced HE. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, with an intensive session in August to go forward and hopefully achieve mine in the next few weeks. And finishing off, we're asked about contribution towards education that we're particularly proud of. Now, I've already mentioned the videos that I had made during COVID, but certainly I want to bring attention to kind of another project that I helped. And this is the ATSTN, or the Advanced Therapy Skill Training Network. This was a project funded by SULSA, so the Scottish Universities Life Science Association, or Alliance. I knew that was going to trip me up. And this was a joint project between Edinburgh Napier University and Charles River Labs in Edinburgh to provide 3 week-long upskilling kind of programs, training programs for unemployed graduates and returning to work scientists specifically. I was the technical lead for the ENU side of things. So I would liaise with Charles River to ensure that we had continuity across both sites and had input with academic leads on practical and service delivery, and before then liaising back with the biomedical science team to roll out the labs. This took place over 3 week-long sessions in 2022. And kind of the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Out of the intake of students that we had 5 hires for Charles River. They were really pleased with the quality of work that we had helped support. I was given a small budget to help run this course, and I'm happy to say that we came under budget and without sacrificing quality. And that then meant that spend could be used for upskilling and training for other members of staff and some further project consumables. And that's everything I have for you. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, that sounds like a really fantastic, kind of thing to be involved in, and increasing that pipelining. So again, your blogs are really good as well. So we'll move on to the next speaker. And then if that's okay, we'll take questions at the end. So yeah, someone's just put their hand up. So Helena, we've got a question. No? Okay. Yeah, so Anya May Cresswell from University of Derby.
Hi, thank you for the introduction, and thanks for inviting me to speak today as well. So just a little bit about myself. So I'm a sport and exercise science technician, specialised in biomechanics, performance analysis and coaching sciences. I've been at the University of Derby for 7 years now as a technician. And prior to that, I graduated for sport and exercise science as well. I did a placement year as a technician for work placement hours as well. So I got a lot of experience there. And then luckily a job came up, which I managed to get. I'm responsible for lab management for our performance suite and the Centre for Performance Analysis and Coaching Science as well. And within that, I support academics and students during practical sessions. I provide workshops for specialised pieces of equipment. And I'm also the lead technician for our human performance unit, which is an external provision we provide. We have the likes of kind of Derby County, Burton Albion come in and do their pre-season, mid-season and end-of-season testing. So I help support that as well, which gives really valuable experience for students in an elite environment. Just a few pictures there, if you can see, just of the kind of labs that I manage. So the top picture there, if you can see in the middle, there's a little square. We've got embedded force plates in there, and on the trellis at the top, we've got a Vicon 3D motion capture system. So we do a lot of 3D motion analysis. I'm involved in a lot of the research projects there as well. So we kind of have golf research going on. We've got some PAP research, and myself as well, I'm involved with some kicking research as well with youth female football. And then the bottom picture is our centre, we call it CPAC, so our Centre for Performance Analysis and Coaching. So we've got specialised software on there, which needs updating probably every 2 weeks, which takes a lot of time. Yeah, so I manage that lab as well, which is it's a great environment for students to come in and kind of socialise whilst doing their work. And within the performance analysis programme, we've created a really good environment for students just to come in and ask questions and ask the kind of, you've got first years asking third years questions. Then I've overheard a conversation, a first year asking a third year about their industrial placement, and then they went on afterwards to get it. So we've created a really good environment within that room as well. So my experiences of teaching, they're relatively new. So this academic year I've been involved in across 4 modules, which involve teaching practical sessions on our specialised pieces of equipment, seminars as well. So not only just how to use the equipment, but then the application into kind of real life sporting environment too. And then I've also taken 2 lectures this year as well, which was a bit scary, but a bit brand new for me, but it's all good experience, isn't it? So that's really my experiences this academic year. Previously, I've kind of led some workshops in our outreach events as well. So more to kind of the further education rather than higher education. And also running the the human performance unit sessions as well. I've been leading on that as well. So it's not quite teaching, but supervising the students and being there and organising that as well. So how did I get into teaching? So really, I was just kind of asked to run some of the biomechanics practicals. That's as simple as that, really. But because of the knowledge I have on the pieces of equipment, I specialise in that area. It made sense to kind of just run that session and be able to give that knowledge to the students and pass that on. And then also in the seminars, showing them how to analyse it and then what that means as well. After doing the biomechanics sessions for, I think, level 4 and level 5, they asked me to do, that led to word spreading out and other academics asking me as well to get involved. Again, because of the nature of our role being specialised in those areas and knowing those pieces of equipment, we can add extra value to those sessions, and really help students get a proper understanding on how to use that piece of equipment, sometimes a little better. And then through that, I've gained the associate fellowship as well, and hopefully, as Bill said previously, go on to gain the fellowship after that as well. So yeah. And then kind of what initiated the changes. So personally, again, I think Bill mentioned it, the demands of teaching for technicians, I feel, especially within our institution, increased after the COVID period. Again, through COVID, we were asked to create a lot of content, online content about the equipment, and I think then that's just kind of fed on from there. So after coming back in probably 2022, 2023, I feel like we're more reliant on technicians than ever before, especially compared to associate lecturers. I feel like they don't really need to get associate lecturers in if we can provide the same knowledge, or sometimes even more knowledge than they can as well within those areas. And like as I said earlier, we are experts in those pieces of equipment, so the practical sessions. I think that was yeah. So that's my experiences of teaching within the University of Derby.
Thank you, Anya. That was fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get some questions in yet. But yeah, I'm a big believer that we are teachers of practice. Yeah, completely agree. It's like you're the experts, and you're able to share that, yeah, to students. So it's fantastic. Fabulous. We'll move on to our next speaker. So it's Michael Bayliss from the University of Liverpool. So over to you, Michael.
Hi there, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Michael Bayliss. I'm a fellow of the Advanced HEA. I got this about March this year. I got associate fellow last year, and I want to prove my track record and go up a ladder every year. I'm the senior IT and AV technician within the School of Histories, Language and Cultures within the Faculty of Health, Humanities and Social Sciences. Bit of a mouthful, really. But I basically, about me, I teach across several different modules. This semester alone was 10. Next semester is 14, and 5 of those are master's modules now, teaching podcasting, audio production, video production, editing. I'm part of the University of Liverpool Technician Commitment and University of Liverpool Technician Steering Group, the Northwest Technician sort of steering group as well. I'm an Apple certified technician. I'm a bit of a geek, and I hold my hands up. I like being a geek. I'm a geek. I'm Adobe certified Premiere Pro digital video creator, or whatever. That's the full title. I basically know how to use software. Really, really geeky. And I make YouTube videos. And I made that pre-COVID as my step into experiences in teaching, basically. I worked at a 6-1 college, and I had students approach me as I was a performing arts technician saying, how do I save on Word? Or how do I export a file? So I thought, okay, I don't want to be really dumb, but you go file save. So I made a YouTube video, really quick 2-minute video, and I ended up making 250 YouTube videos on different pieces of software, from audio editing to video editing to free software to paid for software. And that's how sort of my roles advanced when I moved to University of Liverpool. I've been here for 7 years now in August, and my modules increased per year. And obviously when COVID hit, I was trying to teach a lot of audio over online. Very difficult, especially when you can't get into a studio to do practical. But so one of our heavy teaching modules, so just to show you, sort of, I skipped a slide, don't worry. So one of my teaching modules, we have a large variety of teaching modules, like I said, five are master's modules. One is political radio broadcasting. It's a third year undergraduate module, and they have to do a live radio show for 1 hour. And when I say live, they are streaming it live to the world, and they have to operate the whole lot on their own. Groups of 4 or 5 students in 2 groups. And it is very daunting. I see a lot of faces like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to do that. That's that. I am sitting there, I'm not going to lie, with a cup of coffee behind them, and they operate. And if they get stuck, I jump in and support. But I do throw in some curveballs, like a microphone not working halfway through a session. As part of the fellowship, I sort of initiated these curveballs to make them learn and to do additional learning, because they've got to try and work out. There's not always going to be a technician sitting behind me being able to touch these buttons or help me out. So my experiences in teaching have increased over the years, and as part of the advanced HE accreditation, I got associate fellow because I wanted to be more recognised by the students. It was a bit of a social thing where a lot of academics were asking me to deliver in their classes, be that in Italian, Spanish, German. Now, I don't teach any language, like I can't physically talk that language, but they're teaching them subtitling, and they have to subtitle a video from a native language of Spanish, German, French into English and put a subtitle on. So I'm teaching them the basics of the software, how to use the software, demonstrating all that jazz in front of 125 students per class. It's like, yeah, this is full on. Let's just do it. But you get in that one. Before I got advanced associate fellow, I got those looks, and it was more of a psychological thing. I was getting those looks like, why is the technician teaching us how to teach? So I got associate fellow to prove that, you know, I'm off that level, I can deliver. Over the years, I was delivering more and more. So I got fellow, and I'm actually looking at applying for senior fellow this year. Reading a lot of articles. I've seen Tim Savage has joined the course, so a lot of articles that Tim has written through the creative art side of things, and it's sort of building our platform. So the advanced HE has really helped me grow as a teacher, be recognised more from academics' point of view. In university, a lot of technicians will see it. You have academics and PS staff, where technicians will fall. I've been told by a lot of my academics, you fall in the middle. I go, what do you mean? And they're like, you do a lot more teaching than most of us, but you're also PS. And it's the fine line you have to try and cover your PS side of things, as well as say, well, I'm not got an academic head on, and I hate all the academic writing. I'm not gonna lie, it's so hard. As a technician who's not got a PhD, I've got a BSc honours degree. You don't need a PhD. You just need some time to sit and do your work, which time is the key. I've given a lot of these talks on advanced HE stuff, and my next question is, why do you do it? And I get this question all the time. Why are you teaching 14 modules, Mike? Why are you doing this extra podcasting for like the Liverpool Women's Hospital? Why are you doing all this stuff? I've always wanted to be a technician. I've always wanted to help people. And that's sort of the key role of a technician. Now, whether I'm helping staff train themselves up by being technicians or helping students learn, I'm finding, sounds really dorky, that, doesn't it? But I'm finding my way, because I'm helping someone. My recognition as advanced HE, is helped me be more confident in inspiring others to be recognised, especially with associate fellowships. Demonstrating is the key. If you're in a lab and you're setting up equipment, you're demonstrating. If you're showing an academic how to work a computer, you're demonstrating. There's a lot of academics I turn up into, my computer's not working, and I go in and turn it on. So that's my demonstrating to them how to use a computer. But 90% of my job now is audio-visual sort of aspects of things, where we're delivering audio podcasting, teach them microphone techniques, editing techniques. And each student learns differently. each student learns at different paces. Some will absorb it quicker than others. So it's taking that time then to give a lot more one-to-one support. My studio, we have a studio at the university within Humanities and Social Sciences. We only have one studio, and it had 250 students through in first semester and 150 students through in the second semester. If I say to you there's one technician and one studio, there's a lot of time spent supporting students in that space. And reflecting back on the career, my answer to that question is because I love to do it. Yes, I get a piece of paper to say, oh, you've got a fellowship, and that sticks with me forever. That piece of paper is not going to go anywhere. And I'm proud of what we've got so far and what we've done, and spearheading technicians within the creative arts to deliver to teach. Yeah, it's just a fantastic way of boosting your presence and their understanding. A lot of the module evaluation feedback is Mike's brilliant. It's, you know, not to pick my head up, Mike's brilliant. The way that he delivers the module, he's very enthusiastic. I get told I'm very extra. Now, if I'm in the classroom right now, I'm up and down. I'm full on in your face. We're teaching, we're delivering, we're getting involved. I don't like boring lecturers when they stand at the front and go, right, and today we're going to be talking about this, because I get bored just listening to that. So you got to be very expressive. I find very expressive, especially in sort of, you can tell I come from a creative arts background. Just love delivering, supporting, helping people. I think it's the key technician job. Just helping people, I suppose, is the key. Hopefully I covered all three questions there and not rambled too much and kept it short and sweet. I think that's the end of my slide. I got questions. There you go. Thank you for that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, you certainly inspirational, and yeah, kind of giving everyone a lot of food for thought. So thank you for that. We will move on to Gemma, and then we'll take questions at the end. So yeah, without further ado, Gemma Truman from Manchester Metropolitan University. I'll give it to you.
Hi, I'm Gemma. My official title is Technical Officer. I put the glass in there because I like people to know that I work in the glass workshops, and it's in the arts and humanities side of the university. So it's not very often that people have any concept of what my job is. So, oh, hello, sorry, I forgot, here's my photograph. Hello, me and my space. And then the next thing, I've got a little tour of the workshop, so you can kind of get a visual idea of what's going on. Hopefully this plays. I don't know, do you need to do it, Sarah? Sorry.
You should be able to just press play, Sarah. On the main.
Oh, I've got it. It's okay. Oh, the sound. Well, this will be interesting. So this is the main space as you walk in through the front door. It's a kind of general workspace, the counter and general workshops. The office in the background, and lots of storage materials, and examples of things that the students can make. So things from demonstrations that I've done, things that other people have done in masterclasses, as well as previous students. And then this is the main making space. So we've got kilns all around the room, and then this bit that's the kind of the highlight of the space with the furnace in the middle, where we do hot glass blowing, hot glass pouring. We've got the counter at the back with some small torches, which is for lamp working, which is kind of small scale hot glass. The kiln's about the space. We do warm glass processes. So the hot glass is where we're physically involved with the molten material, physically manipulating it. Warm glass, we stick it in a kiln and it does the magic without us. We have no physical contact with it. And then this space that you see now is the cold workshop. So we have editing machinery to impact change on the glass when it's at room temperature. A little spinny round, sorry if this is making you dizzy. And just a last trip back to the furnace, because it's my favourite part of the whole ensemble. And you can kind of see the fiery nature of the furnace. It's very, very toasty. It's 1100 degrees Celsius and it's on 24/7. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of a better idea of what I do. And I've been in higher education for 4 years, so I feel quite new to it. And my very first challenge was this. The furnace was very well behaved, but equally so was a very effective safety system that we had in place initially, where the fire alarm cuts out the gas, as it should, because we don't want any big problems. But unfortunately, the furnace didn't reset correctly. So we ended up with a cracked crucible, which meant undoing the front of the furnace, taking the crucible out, putting a new one in, and it takes quite a long time. So the first thing I dealt with was sorting out that system to make it better. So thankfully that hasn't happened since. So I was very pleased with myself, a very early challenge being tackled. How did I get myself into this situation? I have had very little traditional training. It's been very self-directed for me. And it all kind of started from a 2-week work experience that developed into a 6-year job, working for a company that did bespoke glass making. So I was, in the early days, the only member of staff for a husband and wife team, making bespoke artwork for all sorts of different clients. And as I progressed over those 6 years, I got better paid, and depending on the jobs that came in, we had other people that came in to help us. So I did a lot of training of those people. And there was a lot of kind of teaching in general. I hadn't considered myself a teacher, but there were public sessions, we had students and work experience, and I was the person that was involved or kind of positioned to do all of that teaching and training. I sort of built my own personal business on the side of working there as well. And then when it came to a relocation of that business to Dorset, which was a little bit too far for me to travel, that's what pushed me into my self-employed era. So I set up my business full-time, geometry and glass making, bespoke glass work. I did this for 7 years, and somehow was teaching throughout yet again. So again, with the public and students and working experience, and training people again. So I was quite keen to get people involved for the benefit of them and myself. So glass blowing by nature required more than one person to be involved. So it's a really lovely symbiotic relationship for kind of teaching and training. So I was kind of, naturally doing that already. I'm going to talk about the experience, my experience of education tech. So it's quite a little bit shorter, I think, but I remember being quite nervous as a student in those spaces. They can be quite intimidating spaces. So I knew before I even started the role that I wanted to make sure that the space was as accessible as possible. And so even before I got there, I think I was already filling gaps that I knew were there. And over my time, I've definitely experienced a lot of gap filling. And I find myself, and I think most of us do, find that if we see an area that needs fixing, as it were, we go about doing that. And so the roles of technicians seem to be constantly expanding. So I'm really sorry, but I didn't experience the COVID years. I kind of came in afterwards. So I arrived in a crazy kind of masked world, but not quite to the full extent as others' experiences, I don't think. But I have kind of seen that where pressures are placed on academic staff to do particular things that have kind of, if their remit has changed, it naturally filters down to us to kind of fill those gaps again. So there's a lot more that we're doing, even year on year for me, and every single year has been different in my experience. There has been nothing the same each year. I kind of think, oh, I figured this out, and then it's like, oh no, something new. Let's think about that again. I would say that my role is 100% student facing. The entire time I'm in work, students are in the space with me as well. I'm very supportive of students and their outcomes, developing their experience, and I am quite conscious of supporting their employability as well. So I'm very aware of, particularly in the area that I'm in, that outside of our space, their access basically drops off a cliff. So I've kind of been inputting the ability for alumni to come and make use of facilities, which is a really lovely symbiotic thing where the students benefit from them and they benefit from the students, and they kind of get support that they need now that they're out of the university's environment, but also the students get more than just my voice and the experience of what it is outside of university. I would say I've really kind of spent the 4 years finding my way of working. There's been a lot of challenges, but I feel like I'm quite proud of having managed them very, very well. And I would say I am a teacher, a technical guru, a critical thinking guide, accidental counsellor, a student to academic liaison officer, a lecturer, first aider, event planner, team builder, secretary, confidence building coach, and of course a technical officer. And I'm sure I could add many, many more things to that. In terms of academic colleagues' perceptions, the honest answer is I actually don't know how and if I have impacted them, but I have made great effort to do that. And the main thing I've been working on is making sure what I do is more visible, which is quite a task, but it's been really valuable. So I'm very definitely talking more openly with everyone, with anyone that will listen to about what I'm doing. I give access to the academics, to the things that I provide for the students, to the spaces that I create. So there's like digital, I create chats for all of the students across all of the different courses and year groups so that they can all access each other and work together, and that works really well as well. But I give the academics access to that. I offer spaces on my inductions, my skills sessions, and if they want one-to-one support with anything, I've been doing that. And sort of it's turned into this marketing by stealth almost. But doing it with real experience, because talking about it, it doesn't always hit, but getting people in the space and experience in the space gives them real understanding, and that is what's working. So they enjoy it, hopefully, and they talk about it with other people, and it kind of spreads this real engaging kind of concept of the space. I think there's a long way to go on perceptions of teaching for tech staff, particularly with academics, but I do think we are making some progress, or I feel like I'm making some progress, and I'm doing my best to meet them where they are and trying to understand the difficulties they're experiencing, because I think sometimes it can be quite easy to not see that because we don't see everything. But I also maintain boundaries for myself and make sure that they're not being overstepped. The other thing in terms of visibility is I've been engaging a bit more with LinkedIn and making use of an Instagram feed for the workshop, which has been really lovely. It's really nice for the students, but anyone that I can't physically get into the space, I'm still able to kind of get what I'm doing out there and be more visible, which is the key. There's a few snapshots of some of the people I've had in the space. So I really like having people in the space in general. It's particularly nice having adults in the space. It makes a nice change every now and again, and I think people get a lot out of it as well. So again, the word naturally spreads. So I actively try to say yes to as much as I possibly can. It doesn't mean I'm a yes person. I will say no when it's warranted. Balance is key, and I have found that no is important, but I really consciously think about how I could say yes, even if it's not an easy yes. And by teaching, I am learning so much. It is genuine joy to kind of pass on my passion to other people, and I think I would consider myself a lifelong learner. So I would like for you guys to consider what you could say yes to. That's what I'd like to leave you with.
Thank you, Gemma. That's amazing. You're very, very talented as well. So I like your kind of summary of all your job roles that you have.
Yeah, thank you.
Someone will put in the comments who wouldn't like to be doing your risk assessment.
Oh yeah, no, you wouldn't.
I don't only imagine. Yeah. No, thank you to all our speakers. I would just like to kind of open it up for anybody, any questions that anyone's got for any of the speakers. So if you want to unmute and just ask a question, then whether that's about current experiences or anything else that was spoken about today, then please do. You've got a comment. Do you want to speak on mute and speak? Yeah, fantastic talks. Very interesting inspiration. Yeah, definitely. I guess I've got a question for everybody really. It's like I went to an event yesterday. It was about robotics technical professionals, and so they were looking at again the career pathways and how they can progress in areas where there are no pathways. So I guess for you in your own institutions, have you got pathways that you feel you can progress on, or are there any kind of blocks or challenges that you have? Open to anyone.
It's a sort of interesting one for me. I didn't really consider progression prior to coming here because I was very much interested in the glass and the glass making, and that was my main focus. But the longer I've been involved in higher education, the more I've kind of seen has opened up, and the kind of, I guess, the ethos of saying yes to things, even if it's a bit scary, and sort of figuring it out as I go, it's really opened up a lot of things, and I can see other ways of moving forward, or sideways, or around. I found that really, really valuable to see and really interesting. And I don't quite know what that might be going forward. But I think that's always the way I've been. I'm kind of open to what's possible rather than have a specific plan.
Thanks, Joel.
Sorry. I would say at University of Derby at the moment we don't have a pathway in place, but we are working. I know Kerry on the call is working very hard behind the scenes with NTDC as well to put something in place for that progression pathway to be there as well.
Thanks, Michael.
We have a pathway at the University of Liverpool called the RTP Pathway, which is a fantastic pathway for promotion or sideways moving, and it opens up that ceiling for technicians who get to a top of a grade, allows you to go a lot higher, potentially up to a grade 10 pathway, but you obviously need to reapply every year once you want to do a promotion. It's a fantastic pathway. It's a bit of self-promotion here. We do a University of Liverpool technician podcast, and I just spoke to Ian Pryor, who's the Pro-Vice Chancellor, who was on the panel for the RTP pathway, and basically our last podcast was about the RTP pathway, where he explains it a lot more, and it's more specialism based, and it's fantastic. So I will put that in the chat if anyone wants to listen to sort of that podcast about the RTP pathway. But I know Jan's in the chat as well, and we had a discussion actually yesterday about how, with the technician commitment at the university, how we can sort of try and integrate the NTDC pathway within standards as well. But yeah, RTP is it's been running for 2 years at the University of Liverpool, and it's really opened up the doors for technicians to progress further, and it's sort of fantastic pathway.
Thank you. Bill?
Hi, yes, just to kind of follow on, really. So we don't have kind of a pathway in place right now, but certainly, things are always changing in higher education, tertiary education, whatever you want to call our field. Certainly, for myself, I'm at the top of my grades now, and I have had a couple of attempts at going higher that have been kind of unsuccessful. However, one thing I've never let it kind of stop me developing. I think Gemma, you hit the nail on the head. We are lifelong learners. Very big believer in that. And as long as you're learning and developing, and you find your role engaging and invigorating, you can still kind of develop sideways. And certainly, a lot of the academic development that I've had over the past few years concentrated over the post-COVID kind of world. It's opened my eyes to the possibilities of technicians and that contribution that we provide. It's if your institution doesn't have a pathway in place, just if you can watch the space. Things are always changing, and certainly things you don't know what's up ahead.
Yeah. Anyone got any other questions for any of the speakers who'd like to?
There's some comments in the chat, Sarah.
Okay.
To run through them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you put the podcast chat link. Thank you. John, you've got your hand up.
Jan, we can't hear you, but you're not on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it's just so obviously, you work really closely with the Office for Students. I'm just wondering what their thoughts are on technicians teaching. Have you had any conversations with them about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously something that, we want that parity with the research technical professionals, and there's clearly been a lot of a lot of headway and like a lot of open visibility of who they are and what their progression is. So yeah, it's certainly something that they're supporting. It's I guess it's like we're kind of behind the RTP work in a way, and we need to, you know, kind of need to kind of get that clarity and the same kind of progression and visibility with academic staff, professional staff, but you know, what education and technical professionals are doing and the importance of it as well, because you know they believe in it. It's, I guess it's just within the sector. How is that reflected in each individual institution?
Because I'm just wondering if they, you know, they'd be pretty powerful if they put out a statement or something supporting it, and you know, for the institutions where it's a bit, we would have to persuade the academics a little bit more. It might really help.
Yeah, no, yeah, it certainly is, and it's like we are kind of working, you know, in discussion with them, and I think they're just very cautious about kind of, you know, releasing anything that's mandated by them, or you know, it's obviously they can recommend things, but they can't. There's no enforcement and stuff. It's just suggestions of what good practices and based on recommendations.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think Sam, will you first with your
Hello. Following on from Janet's question, I just wondered whether the presenters, whether they had any issues with requiring specific qualifications for providing teaching. So we've had conversations where we have some technicians who provide teaching, some demonstrators that provide teaching, but there's a sort of query over the quality. So we have it the other way, in a sense that the academics are more than happy to pass over some teaching to somebody else. But actually, should we be ensuring that those technicians that are providing teaching are providing a certain level of, or certain quality of teaching? So I just wondered if they had done any formal qualifications or had to jump through any hoops to get there.
I did the HAA fellowship actually prior to my role. So I did a year contract before, prior to COVID, that was more on the academic side, where it was like a half day a week. And part of that, I found that I had access to some training. So I came across the fellowship and did it. It was in a different way that I think it maybe I'd do it as in the technical role, but I did that, and I think that possibly helped me to get the role, because they could see experience of that. And I think at the point I was employed, that there was already this kind of movement towards the teaching, but outside of that, no, for me, that's it really.
So certainly, I know for myself, I don't have formal teaching qualification. Started my role with a master's by research, and it's I think I mentioned it earlier on in the chat. It's kind of, as things have progressed, it's kind of opportunities have came up out of necessity, and feedback then, feedback's been taken, and certainly kind of I've made changes to my practice as I've went on. Probably now, doing my part-time master's in blended and online education is probably the closest to kind of the like a formal teaching qualification. That came after the kind of the need for developing videos throughout COVID.
And I don't have a teaching background. I just got it because I wanted to improve the way I delivered. I have this I have this argument with my wife, who's a secondary school teacher who has a PGCE, and says, well, you don't have a teaching qualification, but technically I do, but just in higher education. I just can't teach secondary schools or primary schools. but I don't have that PGC. I have what they class as a fellow, and I only went to a fellow because I was delivering more. And the more I deliver, the more experience I'm getting to student-facing classroom time, lecturing time, doing assessments, marking, module evaluations. The more I'm doing that, the more I can see I'm progressing further in the teaching. So it's more, I don't have it. I never had it prior to university. I only got associate fellow last year. It's more to enhance the way I was delivering. It's more of a, like I said in my talk, more of a psychological thing. That students are looking at you like, why is that technician? Why is he at the front delivering when I've got an academic I'm paying £9,000 a year for to let him deliver? So it's more of a, I suppose, more of a psychological thing from my point of view. But I suppose as you do more and more, you can see that you're progressing into the different categories. So obviously fellow, and senior fellow and principal fellow, which at some point we'll hope I'll ever get to, but that's a long way off target, I think. But yeah, it's more, the more you do, the more you get out of it.
Again, I don't have any full teaching qualifications, but I would say, like I said in my presentation, we are the experts in that particular area, and most of the time we are delivering within practicals, or myself, I'm delivering within practicals. And I would kind of also argue there, we let PhD students take lectures as well, and they don't have any formal qualifications, but they're doing it to gain experience to go within higher education. I suppose it's similar for us, but in a way we have that expertise within that area as well. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Neil, you've got your hand up. I've lost Neil.
I think he might have accidentally left instead.
Okay.
I'll let him back in.
Easily done.
Yeah, you can. When he's back in, I'll give you a shout.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I think if there's any more questions for speakers, please do add them in. We did just want to kind of get people's thoughts on any support, barriers, opportunities for the ETP pathway. So we were just going to put people into just smaller breakout rooms, just to kind of get conversations going and share back anything from that. Is Neil back in?
Yeah, Neil's back in.
I'll let Neil ask the question.
I don't think I left. Am I back now?
You're back now.
Yeah. I don't think I could still hear everything that was going on.
Oh right. I don't know what happened.
But it could be the signal. I'm not in work, so it might be that. Sorry. So it's just what I was going to say and kind of comment more than ask really led on quite nicely from the advanced HE stuff that we were just talking about. And like, do technicians have like a formal teaching qualification to do the teaching that we do? And then obviously what Michael was saying there about having like that recognition with the fellowships, that essentially is like, it's a teaching qualification that technicians can absolutely get. And a lot of the time I found that people are put off as technicians going for fellow because a few in particular bits of the framework that traditionally we've kind of been told or assumed that we don't do. Like Bill was alluding to earlier as well about the pedagogy of things, like, but I think it's important to remember that you don't have to be an expert in pedagogy. You don't have to be reading pedagogical papers all the time. Oh, I base my like teaching on this. This is what I do because of this. When I did my fellow last year or 2 years ago, can't remember, I found that it was actually the practice that I was doing like just doing it, and just inherently was doing it, and that just so happened to go along with some pedagogical theories. And it was really interesting because I think all technicians are probably in the same boat. We teach in a way just because we do, and that just so happens to match to pedagogical theories. Like we just inherently know how to teach a different person a different way because they need to learn that way. We teach one person like this because they need to. We teach in a group in certain situations because it's better than teaching individually. So it's, I think if people are thinking about going for fellowship, like Bill, for instance, and Anya, like Bill, you'll get fellowship, absolutely no bother at all, 100%. Like, so I've got no doubt in my mind, because the process I went through 2 years ago will be the same process that you're going to go through, and you'll answer the same questions. I also think it's good to have other recognitions, like maybe accreditations through things like Science Council. So that again just shows, as well as having like the knowledge to teach, we also know and have the qualifications of the subject area. So like a lot of us will have honours degrees, at least in the kind of scenario we're working in. We could even, like Bill was saying, he's got a postgraduate degree, and you'll find that a lot of technicians now, I think the work the NTDC did, found a certain percentage have honours. I can't remember, Ian and Sarah would know probably off the top of their head. This percent have masters, this percent have PhDs. So like we know the subject area that we're working in, so we can absolutely teach it as well. And it comes back to, again, that point, PhD students are taking lectures. Well, technicians have that same subject knowledge, so we can absolutely do that as well. So I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Ian?
Sorry, just before we go into the breakout rooms, just a little bit more information then about the ETP pathway, just to help people with their discussions. So it is designed along very similar theory to a research technical professional pathway, where if it was implemented at your university, education technicians could apply to enter on the pathway. And then if they could demonstrate that they meet certain criteria, so their outputs meet a particular standard, for example, that they could then apply to move through the pathway on a promotion basis like our academic colleagues would do. So in a way, it's the opposite to a research technical professional pathway, but all the criteria are education technical focused, and all those criteria are centered around technical and technology skill and output. I just wanted to make that clear so people understood a little bit more if I didn't make that clear when I spoke at the beginning. Thanks.
Thanks for that, yeah. Yeah, so I'll just put people into some rooms. I'll just do it for 5 minutes, and I'm just aware we're kind of coming to the end, and then just get a bit of feedback from everybody at the end. So yeah, if you just have to discuss in smaller groups and then come back to the main room. I'll do that now then, so we should. And yeah, we'll share kind of all the links that people are sharing in the chat as well, and the slides as well. So we've got everybody back, please.
I think quite a few people had to leave.
Yeah, that's fine.
Around 15:15, so I think that might be everyone back in.
Yeah. See, it's desperate for a drink. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I appreciate it. Just grab a drink. But yeah, no, thank you for everyone for doing that. If anyone's willing to feedback anything that came out of your very brief decision, you don't drink or beer. I'm not sure I get that.
You do.
Yeah, so is anything kind of come out of that obviously there's similar things from that people have raised around the pathways and the institutions. Terry?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's something I think that affects all universities, and that's actually getting university management to engage. Some have been great across, we went to a talk the other day about Loughborough implementing career pathways, and it looked like their senior management were really supportive and on board, but a lot of universities are struggling in that the management isn't engaged. And now, as we all know, nearly every university is undergoing a restructure, which makes it even more challenging to implement these kind of things. So what I would say is, if you can, get somebody in the organisation at a senior level to be an advocate for technicians. And the thing, because we're working on this at Derby, Ian has been absolutely brilliant. He came to Derby, we talked about the HEP framework, we went through all of the roles and capabilities, and that's what we've used to form the basis of our pathway that we're hoping to get through. And as Ian himself said, you're not reinventing the wheel. It's something that's a national standard, but it's really key to get somebody at a senior level who is going to be a real advocate for you.
Yeah, it's totally agree. It's very Neil, you got your hand up. Open from mute.
Mute. Sorry, here I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, awesome. I think size of institutions has a big effect on this. Coming from a relatively small institution, I think like the introduction of the pathway would be quite difficult. The thing that Kerry was talking about, they were buy-in from senior management, is an issue that we have as well, even to be signatories of the technician commitment. Like Napier's not part of that yet, and that's the stumbling block essentially. I've made that a mission of mine in the near future to try and just to change that, and I'm hoping, and Bill will know, we've got a new vice principal who's coming from our school, who's in the past been pretty supportive of technicians. His wife happens to be the technical manager for our school, so hopefully that might help. Yeah, so it's difficult, I think. But I also said in our little breakout room there, even if your institution hasn't like got a pathway, it's really good as an individual to look at that pathway and pick out things that you could maybe do at yourself, and then think about cross-institutional movement if that's possible for you as an individual as well, I guess. And I made the comment as well, for me it's not really, because being like a sports science technician, it's, ignore this, sorry, I'm at a conference. Yeah, it's difficult. I've lost my train of thought because of him now. Yeah, just it's important to think individually and see what you can gain from the framework, I guess, and move cross-institutionally, if that's within your scope. I sort of saying, for me, it's not really because of as a sports science tech, there's not too many jobs in that like kind of space, and the institutions around me would have the same problem probably with the ceiling that we're on. But I think in the technician community in general, there's scope definitely to draw things from the pathway that's been created. I think I could do this in order to give me put in a better position to get a promotion somewhere else or move it to another institution potentially. If that makes sense. Sorry for babbling and sorry for the interruption.
No, that's good now. Yeah, that's a very valid point. So thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. Your senior management does need to support as much as you can. But I looked at the pathway yesterday. I'm not going to lie. I sat down and I looked at it because I gave a talk at the University of Chester last week, and around HGA, and they popped up that map and what you can match the criteria to. And probably, not gonna lie, hold my hands. It was the first time I've ever seen the map. And it was the hexagonal one where you match criteria. And I sat down and looked at it yesterday when I had a bit of time, and I was like, actually, you filled that void. It feels like within the technical industry, we filled that void that you're supporting teaching technicians. That is a really fantastic opportunity now to support those technicians who probably aren't getting that opportunity to advance further at the education or the institution they're in now. I looked at it, I'm hitting a 4 or 5 already. Once I get my professional registration ticked off. Already a member of the IST, just need to get the professional registration. In the creative arts, it's quite hard. It's because it's new. New, but it's new for me. It's new for everyone. No one at the university's got it either. So I was like, oh, no one's leading me that way. So you're already hitting those couple of brackets already just by sitting and looking at what you're doing. So I sat down with Jan yesterday and we had a good chat about how it can be initiated within the university. Obviously, she's part of the NTDC panel, and she's already sent those documents over for the technician commitment. So it's those things that we're trying to talk about. But again, yeah, it does need the senior leadership to say, you know what, I think that's, we've got a pathway that supports technicians at our university, an RTP pathway. Another pathway, or initiating it into the same pathway to support all technicians would be, you know, fantastic. But you have found that massive loop, that massive gap in the industry, and it's fantastic that there is this opportunity now that, you know, once universities take it on board, we could run with it, and it'd be amazing. So yeah, well done to the NTDC really to initiating that pathway.
Thanks, Ryan. Ian?
I think if I could just echo some of those things, Sarah, and bring some of this together.
Yes.
So I think the point that Kerry made, find a sponsor in your university, is really important. And I think, Kerry, if I remember rightly, you had a really good sponsor in one of your PVCs. I think the other thing that helps then is helping the university to appreciate the sector body recommendations. So we have some recommendations, other bodies do. UKRI has a really robust set. We have a list of guidance around what a career pathway could and should look like. We also have a list of recommendations. And I think it's being realistic about what your organisation's going to accept at this particular time. So, you know, you might not get everything you want, but you might be able to start somewhere and you might be able to tick some things off the list. And once you've got that, then move to the next phase, and just remembering and being realistic that any progression is an achievement, and that you start somewhere and then you can move forward from that. And I think the last thing, and I can't remember whether this was you, Kerry, or Neil that said this, but the work we do with universities when we use the HET framework, that can be helpful with universities, both in terms of not having for them to, you know, go back to point zero and recreate, but also in them being able to reassure their senior staff and their executives that it is a national framework and it is based on a number of years of work and refinement, and a number of universities have fed into that to make it what it is. And we find that does reassure people. It does reassure people that it has a strong foundation. So I think those points you've all made are really critical, really important points. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and with that, I just want to thank everyone for their time today, and in particular our speakers, so General Mike, Bill and Anya. Thank you for giving up the time, preparing and speaking to everyone. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, like Saf said, we share the resources with everybody afterwards and circulate those. So yeah, we'll keep the conversation going. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the sunny day.
Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. You all take care now. Okay.
You too.
Bye, Bill.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care now. Bye. Bye.
Bye.